Dre all day.
Dre Baldwin, balloverseas.com, the overseas basketball blueprint. Today I want to talk about playing basketball overseas if you are already overseas, if you live overseas. Overseas meaning outside of the United States. And you want to play, let's say you want to play in Europe, you're already from Europe, but not in the country that you're in, or maybe even the country that you're in. You're just trying to get on. How do you get into the game? That's what we'll talk about here. Now, if you're watching this on video, please like, comment, share the video, and let everybody know that we are giving you the game when it comes to playing professional basketball. And if you're listening to this on a podcasting app, leave us a rating and review, and let all the other ball players and us know that we are the plug and telling you what you need to know about playing basketball overseas. So if you're already overseas, now some of you who are in America, you might think if somebody lived overseas, if they live in France, then it'd be really easy to get a job in France, right? If you live in Germany, maybe it's easy to get a job in Spain or something like that. But it's not that easy, because professional basketball, you got to remember, there's only 12, 15 people on every team. And there might be a whole lot of people trying to get on those teams, and they don't just let anybody walk in there, even if you're from that country. Just like you're from the United States, you're from New York, you can't just walk into Madison Square Garden and play for the Knicks. You got to earn your way into that the same way anybody else does. It may not be as big of a space as in the United States, but it's still a challenge for the players who are overseas. So how do you get in? The number one thing that I would tell those players, if you live somewhere in Europe and you're trying to play either in your country, let's say, or even another country that you're trying to get into, the first thing that you should do is leverage the fact that it's easy for you to travel to wherever you're trying to play. So if you're in Bulgaria and you're trying to play in Luxembourg, I don't even know how close they are to each other, but just picking up random names of countries over there, you can reach out to a team, and first of all, it may be easier for you to call them, and then an American player can call them, and you may even be able to speak the language depending on which country that you reach out to. And if the language is something other than English, even better for you, because now you jump yourself ahead of a bunch of American players who can't do what you can do by calling them, and you can speak the language. Let them know that you're close by and that you're willing to take care of your own travel. This is something that I tell players in America. If you want to get on overseas, one of the best things you can do is go overseas and let them know, yo, I'm in Germany, can I come work out with the team for a week? Or I'm in Spain, can I get a tryout or something like that? If you're already there, you have already cut down 60% of the challenge, which is them having to decide if you are really good enough to be worth their investment of bringing you over. But if you eliminate that question and they're like, oh, he's already here, yeah, you can come work out. Maybe if you're trash, they can just tell you don't come back. And if you're good, then they just got a player who fell on their lap. And this is the same for you players who are already based in, you're from Europe and you're trying to play overseas. You're from wherever and you're trying to play overseas wherever. It's easier for you to travel. So you have a big advantage. You have a leg up on an American player who's in the United States hoping that a team will invest in them. You can invest in yourself, and it's much cheaper for you. It might cost you 80 euros to fly from the country you're in to the country you want to go play in, whereas an American, it might cost them $800 to fly from Minneapolis to Spain or wherever the situation happens to be. So that's one thing that you should definitely leverage, that you're close by. And the other thing, two things you can leverage. You're close by, and you can reach out to a team and maybe communicate with them in a way that an American would not know how to, and even wouldn't be capable of, even if they did know how to do it. The other thing is, if you're in a overseas player, you're a foreign player, foreign to Americans, and you're trying to play in a foreign country, you still got to have game. The game requirement does not go away. And this is especially important if you would be an import player with the Bosman levels. And I don't even remember them off the top of my head exactly how they work, but you know how they work. If you're a player who would be looked at as an import, meaning there's a limited number of you who is available or eligible to be on a certain team in a certain league, then that means the standards for you to be good are the same as an American's standards, the same standards that would be for an American player to get on and play basketball overseas. So your game got to be just as tight. You got to be just as good, and you might even have to be better than an American, or at least provide more value, more bang for your buck, let's say, than an American would, based on what they have to, but the team has to invest in you and what you bring to the table. It's not necessarily that you have to be better than them, but you get what I'm saying. Based on the investment the team makes and what you bring to the table, it needs to be a good business move for the team. So you got to make sure that your game is sharp. Now, if you're in a situation where you will be a local guy, let's say you're in Germany and you want to play for a team in Germany, now the team can have maybe 10 of you, but they can only have 3 or 4 Americans or 3 or 4 imports from outside of the country or whatever different countries. Those are how the rules go. Understand, this is a situation where we could say it's quote unquote easier, but it ain't about it being easy, because you still got to be a good player. Because what I found in my experience playing overseas is that when teams look at their local guys, they're going to have a handful of local guys who can play, guys who are going to be in the rotation, really playing a lot. But then the rest of the local guys who are on the team, they're like the people who don't play that much, but those are the young guys. Those are the up and coming. That's the next generation of the team. And they don't just put anybody on there. So if you're 32, you can't be part of the young guys. Every team that I was on, for the local teams, the young guys were it was probably 4 or 5 young guys on every team. And those are local guys from the country. They don't count against the import, but they don't really play in the games. They practice with us all the time. Sometimes they didn't even suit up for the games because they knew they weren't going to play. And the coach knew they weren't going to play. And then it was like 5 or 6 or 7 guys who were local, but they played. That was the rotation. And then whoever, like B and anybody else who was from outside of the country. But understand, you got to be in that top 5 or 7. If you're coming from outside of the country, and you would technically be not even outside, inside, where you're not an import, you got to be one of the top 5 or 7, unless you're a young guy. Unless you're a young guy who's coming up through their system, or you're going to come up through their system and get groomed by them. But if you're not that, listen, you better tighten up. You got to tighten your game up. That's what they're going to be expecting of you if you're going to be playing at this level as a pro. It's still not going to be quote unquote easy for you. You shouldn't be looking for the easy route. You should be looking for the route that's going to get you the best opportunity, whether that's easy, hard, whatever it is. Playing is playing. That's the deal. So all that being said, because this is a competition, right? So nobody's looking for the easy route. So all that being said, if you do not yet have your free copy of this book, The Overseas Basketball Blueprint, get it by going to balloverseas.com. All you do is cover a small shipping charge. We take care of the price of the book. We have already paid for the book. The book is free to you. Go to Ball Overseas, tell us where to ship it. We'll ship it to you worldwide, anywhere you live. If you want the 4-part Overseas Blueprint bundle, that includes Basketball Agents Decoded, where I explain how agents work, the truth about overseas basketball exposure camps, which basically explains itself in the title, and Overseas Basketball Secrets, where I explain the business side of the game, everything you need to know, the overall of overseas basketball for anybody who wants to understand it. You can get all 3 of these books as part of the Overseas Blueprint bundle on the same page where you go to Ball Overseas. If you just want this book, you can get just this one too. Again, this book is free. All you do is cover the shipping. So go to balloverseas.com. I got you covered. Work on your game. Dre all day.